Okay. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We would like to thank everyone who has joined us so far for our weekly virtual Sunday program. We will be continuing our series today on the glories of Krishna and Balaram. And today will be part 3, and we'll be covering the topic or Leela rather than topic, the Leela of Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. And we have a very special guest speaker today, His Grace Ajit Krishna Prabhu. Before we go over to the class, I'll just go over a few announcements, and then I will hand it over to Ajit Krishna Prabhu. Okay, so the schedule will be the class as of now 4:30, and then we'll have a question and answer part at 5:30, and then at 5:40 we'll have some announcements, some temple announcements and festival announcements. So please stick around for that, and we'll conclude today's program with the Nishringa Arti at 5:45. Yes, and today this is the DT Darshan from ISKCON Atlanta, New Panihati Dham. So we would just like to give everybody an opportunity to relish the darshan and take a beautiful darshan of our most beloved deities, Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani, Sri Sri Gaur Nitai, and Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan. Thank you so much. So we'll prepare to begin the class now. Before we begin, I will just give a introduction on today's speaker. Today's speaker is Ajit Krishna Prabhu. He is a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and Prabhu started associating with ISKCON in 1981 as an engineering college student. He completed an MBA from Dartmouth College in New Hampshire and works as a finance professional for Delta Airlines here in Atlanta. Prabhu is qualified in Bhakti Shastri and has held a position on the managerial board at ISKCON Atlanta. Prabhu now preaches in the south suburbs of Atlanta, mainly Peachtree City, giving classes and playing different leadership roles within the community, such as mentoring and guiding. Prabhu is also a loving husband and a devoted father. He is known for his exceptionally academic classes and his extremely sweet kirtans. The application of the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures to everyday work and life situations is a focus area for him. It has been some time since Prabhu has spoken on this forum. So with that being said, we would like to graciously and humbly welcome Prabhu today for giving his association and for being able to lead us in a wonderful class. We look forward to hearing from you. We are all very excited, and thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining us. And just to conclude, Prabhu is currently living in Atlanta with his wife, Prema Madhurya Devi Dasi, and his 2 daughters, Shivani and Radhika. So without any further ado, Prabhu, thank you so much for being here. I'll now hand it over to you. When you are ready, Prabhu, you may begin. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you, Naveen Prabhu. And it's been a while since we've seen each other in person, thanks to COVID. So happy to be back and to get your association as well as that of the devotees. And I hope you and the family are all doing well as well. So, Hare Krishna. All right. So, well, thank you again, Naveen Prabhu. And I once again want to thank ISKCON Atlanta and the devotees for giving me this opportunity to speak on the pastimes of Sri Sri Krishna and Rukmini Devi. It's a very interesting and very fun kind of a pastime, actually. So, but before we move forward with that, I just wanted to offer my obeisances, I guess, virtually to our Lordship, Shri Sri Radha Mohan, Shri Sri Gaur Nitai, Shri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subramani, Shri Sri Radha Mohan ki Jai, Shri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subramani ki Jai, Shri Sri Gaur Nitai ji ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. All right. So the verse basically that was quoted in the flyer. I'll just start with the translation of that, and then we'll move forward. Uh, the translation is Sri Rukmini. Actually, wait, it was 16 and 17. So let me just go back to that, 16 and 17. The translation by disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. O hero among the Kurus, the Supreme Lord himself, Govinda, married Bhishmaka's daughter, Vedarvi, who was a direct expansion of the goddess of fortune. The Lord did this by her desire, and in the process, he beat down Shalva and other kings who took Shishupal's side. Indeed, as everyone watched, Sri Krishna took Rukmini just as Garuda boldly stole nectar from the demigods. I think, as is the tradition, I'll just do a very quick, short prayer before we get into the discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Gopichand Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandan Vrajjana Ranjan Nimna Thiruvanchari Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. It's interesting how the pastime actually refers to kidnapping. you know, uh, the word kidnapping does obviously have a slight, well, not slightly, it has a negative connotation to it. But was this really something negative? Well, we'll find out. So Krishna and his pastimes, he's associated with words that are sometimes taken negatively or have a negative connotation, such as kidnapping in this case. There's stealing. Krishna was known as Makanchor. He stole. And Krishna killed. These are all negative terms. But as we'll see in this pastime, and as we know from many of his other pastimes, whatever Krishna does is good. Krishna is God. God is all good. Whatever Krishna does is good. And the recipients of these actions of Krishna always benefit. And so in this case also there is a huge benefit that the recipient of this action receives. Now, the discussion, I was thinking we'll divide this up a little bit. So we'll start with the katha first. For some facts, here's what happened. Here's the katha. Here's the story. And the story has humor in it. It has all kinds of wonderful mellows in it. But there are also many lessons. Krishna's activities are always full of lessons. And so it's not surprising. This pastime too has many lessons in it for us. And so once we go through the katha part, the facts part, we'll come to the lessons and the takeaways and what it means really for us and how we can apply some of these lessons to our day-to-day life. So let's start from the part where we just read this, verses 16 and 17, which was profiled in the flyer. So Vedarbi was a direct expansion of the goddess of fortune. Krishna married Bhishmaka's daughter. Vedarbi was a direct expansion of the goddess of fortune. How did the Lord do this? The Lord did this by her desire, and in the process he beat down Shalva and other kings. So what happened was, Rukmini Devi was the daughter of the king of Vidarbha, and his name was King Bhishmaka. And she would hear kathas about Krishna, and she heard many kathas about Krishna as she was growing up. King Bhishmaka was a pious king. There were many sadhus that visited their home, and they all engaged in Krishna Katha. So it wasn't surprising that young Rukmini heard lots and lots of stories about Krishna. So one of the verses kind of says, Sa upashritya mukundasya. So Rukmini Devi, Sa refers to her, she upshritya heard. She heard about Mukundasya, about Krishna. She heard about Krishna. And as she kept hearing about Krishna, she developed an understanding of some of the opulences of Krishna. Eventually, she became well conversant with all 6 opulences of Krishna. And she started desiring within her heart that this is the perfect person for me to marry. And so she was very, very determined in her heart that Krishna was the perfect person for her to marry. And she made up her mind. King Bhishmaka knew about it. The other family members knew about it. And Rukmini Devi had 5 brothers, the oldest of whom was Rukmi. So all of her brothers knew about this desire of hers as well. And most of them were favorable towards this desire, except her eldest brother, Rukmi. Rukmi happened to be a friend of Shishupal. And Shishupal, as we all know, Shishupal was envious of Krishna. He was not his friend. They were all, associates. They would associate with each other, but Shishupal was Krishna's, well, you can't call him enemy necessarily, but he was envious of Krishna. And Rukmi, being a very close friend of Shishupal, thought that Shishupal would be the ideal candidate for Rukmini's hand. So Shishupal and Rukmi decided that Shishupal should get married to Rukmini. And now Rukmini obviously wanted to marry Krishna. So when she heard about Rukmini's plan, she was not very happy. She tried to convince her father to get her to marry Krishna. But King Bhishmaka, being an affectionate father, also listened to his son. And eventually he gave in to what Rukmi's desire was. And Rukmi's desire, unfortunately, was to get Rukmini married to Shishupal. So then that's where the drama started. So in the household, you have Rukmini who wants to marry Krishna. You have Rukmi who wants her to marry Shishupal. The father is torn between the two. Eventually, the father gives in to the older son because he said, oh, he's the older son. Rukmini is the youngest daughter. She had 4 other brothers in addition to Rukmi, and they were all she was their beloved little sister. And so they thought this is the best thing for us to do for her. So Rukmini, unfortunately, was heartbroken that this is what the family is planning to do. In addition to that, the residents of Vidarbha, they also understood what Rukmini's desire was. And here's where it gets really ironic and dramatic, that the residents of Vidarbha, they also thought that Rukmini should marry Krishna. But obviously, the king's decision and the prince's decision was kind of the decision that everybody was going with. So here we have the situation, and Rukmini decided, well, Rukmini was so convinced in her mind that she wanted to marry Krishna that she said, okay, now I have to do something about it because my family members are not going to help me. So she decided to write a letter to Krishna. And so she wrote this letter requesting Krishna, or revealing her heart to Krishna and requesting Krishna to come and marry her. And she found a trusted Brahmin who she could send the letter through. So I'll just go to the part, quickly jump to the part where Rukmini writes this letter. And so the contents of the letter, we'll just glance through that really quickly. So Rukmini wrote this letter. She gave it to the Brahmin. He was a trusted Brahmin, and the Brahmin set off for Dwarka. And when he got to Dwarka, he told the guards at the gate that I'm here to meet Sri Krishna. I have a letter for him. It's a confidential letter. So they took him inside. Lord Krishna was seated on his throne. The Krishna book describes it as a golden throne. And as was the etiquette, Krishna got off the throne, received the Brahmin very respectfully. In fact, he asked the Brahmin to be seated on the golden throne. And then Krishna welcomed him, washed his feet, and then asked the Brahmin to take a rest. And so the Brahmin was given a very comfortable, beautiful room and bed to rest on. And then the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself, went and massaged the legs of the Brahmin to help him overcome his tiredness. So I'm just laying these facts out, and we'll come back and discuss the messages that all these facts have. But as you can see, imagine the amount of respect that Krishna is showing to this Brahmin. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is massaging the feet of this Brahmin. Can you imagine the position of this Brahmin who is accepting this service from the Supreme Lord? What a wonderful soul that person was. Anyway, so we'll come back to all of that when we come back to the lessons. But so here we have Krishna massaging the Brahmin's feet, and he inquired, as was the etiquette, that I hope you are comfortable, that everything is going on well in the kingdom, and most importantly, are you able to perform your religious responsibilities with a free and peaceful mind? So there we see that in society, obviously the Varnashram system was being followed. The Brahmins instructed the Kshatriyas how to rule. The entire kingdom was ruled by, based on the instructions of the Shastra, which were imparted by learned Brahmins to the Kshatriyas. And so Krishna asked him, are you able to perform all of your religious duties, such as acquiring knowledge and imparting knowledge to the Kshatriyas with a peaceful mind? And why did he ask about a peaceful mind? Because he wanted to know if the Kshatriyas were following his instructions. Because if they were following his instructions, there were no disturbances, obviously the Brahmin's mind would be peaceful. And if a Brahmin's mind is peaceful, he can engage more and more in study of Shastra, acquiring knowledge, disseminating it and imparting it to those who wish to learn from him. So Krishna inquired about his welfare, understood that everything was going on perfectly well, and then he asked him, so what is the real purpose of your visit? And so the Brahmin said, I have a confidential letter here from Rukmini Devi, and I want to read this out to you. So he read it out, and I'll quickly read out in the translation what Sri Rukmini Devi said. So Sri Rukmini Devi in her letter said, O beauty of the worlds, and she's addressing Krishna, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. So please note carefully, there are a few words here that are very instructive. How many times did she use the word here? Maybe at least 3 or 4 times. She said, having heard of your qualities, which enter into the ears of those who hear. So that's the second one. And remove their bodily distresses. And also having heard, third time, of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see. 3 times she uses the word hear. Hear or heard, same thing. She said, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. Shameless. Why did she use the word shameless? Because she was reaching out to him as a woman. She was reaching out to him. And this was kind of her desire to reach out to Krishna. And she said, you may consider me shameless that I'm reaching out to you instead of you reaching out to me. But my mind is made up. My mind is convinced that you are the right shelter for me. So I'm reaching out to you, O Krishna. I've fixed my mind upon you, O Krishna. And then she said in the next verse, and I'll just jump to the part which we're going to focus on, where she says, what aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl of a good family would not choose you as her husband when the proper time has come? So she conveyed to him that she wanted him as her husband. And then she said, therefore, my dear Lord, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself to you. She surrendered unto the lotus feet of Krishna. Please come swiftly, O Almighty One, and make me a wife. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, let Shishupal never touch the hero's portion like a jackal stealing the property of a lion. So she made it very clear to Krishna, Krishna, I am being forcefully given to Shishupal in marriage. Please come quickly. Now, Krishna had also heard about Rukmini, and he also agreed that this is the perfect person for me to marry. And he decided that evening itself. So this was at night that the Brahmin informed him about the contents of the letter. That night itself, Krishna said, there's no time to waste because the marriage is happening in the next 24 hours or so. Let's go. And so he called his chariot driver, whose name was Daruka. Daruka brought 4 special horses. They got the chariot ready, and Krishna and the Brahmin, they sat on the chariot and they drove during the night from Dwarka to Vidarbha. And so, as the Bhagavatam describes, they got there the next day in the morning. And this was a distance of about 1,000 miles. Prabhupada explains this distance is about 1,000 miles, and they did that in about 12 hours. So, simple math, the chariot was traveling at about 80 miles an hour on average. Now think about this. In those days, no paved roads. I don't know what the situation was. They must have been going through fields or whatever. But of course, this is Krishna, right? So what's 80 miles an hour for him? So at an average speed of 80 miles an hour, they got to Vidarbha the next day. We got there. Meanwhile, Rukmini Devi was getting restless and impatient because the time for the wedding was coming up. And she also, I haven't read this part out, but she also indicated to Krishna how he should come and get her. She said, my thought is, and being a Kshatriya's daughter, she was very systematic in her approach when it came to dealing with people, with citizens, and she wanted to minimize the damage that could happen if a fight ensued. So she said to Krishna in her letter, she laid out a plan. She said, Krishna, I will be going to the temple of Ambika Devi at such and such time. So please plan your arrival such that you don't try to kidnap me from the palace. Because if you come to the palace, my relatives will be there. They'll all try to stop you. I don't want my relatives getting killed. So if you come at a time when I am either on the way to the temple of Ambika Devi or returning from there, that would be ideal. So that's how Krishna planned it. And as the system goes, the deity of Ambika Devi was the family deity for the king of Vidarbha. And so Rukmini Devi's uh, thought process was, and this is how they all did it at that time. Rukmini Devi went to Ambika Devi, paid her obeisances to her and her children. There are four children. Shiva and Parvati have four children: Lakshmi, Ganesh, Karthik, and Saraswati Devi. So she offered her obeisance to Ambika Devi along with the children and said, "Please help me attain Krishna." She didn't ask her for material desires. To fulfill her material desires, she said, "Please help me attain Krishna." Another instruction there. If you're approaching Krishna's servants, the demigods, what do you approach them for? To attain Krishna. So when this happened, by this time, all the kings who were friends of Shishupal had also arrived over there. And they came with their armies. They came prepared. They knew that Krishna may show up and he may try to kidnap Rukmini. So they came prepared. They came with their army. So there were many kings there: Jarasandh and Shishupal and his whole army, and many others, Pondarka and so forth. And along with the army, so there were millions of soldiers there. Meanwhile, Balaram heard that Krishna has gone alone, along with the Brahmin, all the way to Vidarbha, and he expected that there will be a fight. So Lord Balaram took the army of the Yadus and said, "This little brother of mine," out of brotherly affection for him, he said, "This little brother of mine, he's just gone there alone. He might get hurt. So I'm going to take the entire Yadu army with me." So Lord Balaram also showed up there. So King Bhishmaka, he very respectfully welcomed all of the kings, whether they were Shishupal and his friends, and Shishupal's father, his name was Dhammagosha. So King Bhishmaka welcomed them. Then he welcomed Krishna, Balaram, all of them. Meanwhile, Rukmini Devi got ready. She went to the temple of Ambika Devi, offered her prayers, and as she was coming back, all of these kings were assembled by the roadside where Rukmini Devi was walking back to her palace. Now, when these kings, when they saw Rukmini Devi, they were so enamored by her beauty that, as the Bhagavatam describes, Rukmini Devi, being the expansion of Krishna's Ladini Shakti, obviously was extremely beautiful, and she covered herself with the illusory energy, and that illusory energy itself was so strong that all of these kings and their armies that had assembled there to view Rukmini Devi and this whole wedding procession, well, Rukmini Devi coming back from Ambikaji's temple, they were so enamored and enthralled by her appearance that they lost their sense of composure and they were almost unconscious. So again, there is a lesson there. We'll come back to that lesson. But these kings and their armies, they were practically senseless and unconscious. And as Rukmini Devi was walking back amidst these millions of people, she spotted Krishna. And Krishna was surrounded by his own army men too. And then Krishna very softly and gently stepped out of the crowd, brought his chariot, and placed Rukmini Devi on the chariot. And Jarasandh and Shishupal and Rukmi and King Damagosha, all these people were there, but most of them were senseless. And so Krishna, without a fight, placed Rukmini on the chariot and drove off with her. And then when that happened, suddenly Jarasandha came to his senses, and he said, how did this happen? How did this happen? What is going on? This, we are lions, and Krishna is just a weak little animal like a jackal, and he's run away with our food, so to speak. And so the lesson there was that Krishna's illusory energy is so strong. Devi Isha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya is so strong that if one doesn't focus on his spiritual potencies, if one doesn't focus on spiritual progress, his material energy will completely bewilder us, and we'll have no understanding of what's going on a spiritual platform. And that's exactly what happened. Krishna, Rukmini Devi is Krishna's eternal consort. And those who were bewildered by the illusory energy were looking at Rukmini Devi with lusty intentions and saying, we should have her as our wife. And when that happened, they lost all sense of reality to the extent that they were unconscious of what was happening on the spiritual platform, which is exactly our situation. We are unconscious of what is going on the spiritual platform. And therefore, Krishna was very easily able to put Rukmini on the chariot and drive off with her. And look at the other thing that the illusory energy did. It caused Jarasandha to say that we are the lions and Krishna is the jackal, and it's the other way around. And so Krishna just took off with Rukmini. Meanwhile, Jarasandha came to his senses. The other people came to their senses. They started chasing Krishna. Balaramji and the Yadu army stepped in, and without much of a fight, they subdued the armies of Jarasandha and others. And then Jarasandha, when he saw that all of his soldiers were being killed, he said, why am I fighting for the sake of Shishupal? Shishupal should be fighting here. So he rounded up his army and they went away. Rukmini, in the meantime, was very upset. Rukmini said, this Krishna, this cowherd boy, this Mayavi Krishna, he by his illusion has tricked us once again. So I'm going to chase him. And he made a promise to all the kings assembled there, saying, if I don't get my sister back from Krishna, I will not come back to this capital city. And so he went chasing after Krishna. Krishna saw him and he tried to kind of, be lenient with Rukmini because Krishna was about to marry his sister. But Rukmini was mad with anger and he started shooting arrows at Krishna. Krishna deflected each of his arrows. Krishna very gently broke the string of one of the bows that Rukmini was carrying, giving him an indication, don't fight with me. Rukmini didn't understand it, or he didn't take no for an answer. So he picked up a second bow. Krishna broke that bow also. Rukmini still didn't get it. He picked up a third bow. Krishna destroyed that. Rukmini then attacked Krishna. Finally, Krishna picked up a sword and he was about to kill Rukmini when Rukmini stepped in and said, please don't kill my brother, and so on and so forth. So Krishna said, okay, I'll spare Rukmini, but I will humiliate him. So he shaved off half his mustache, cut off half his hair, and left him in a fairly ugly situation, which for a Kshatriya is worse than being defeated or worse than being killed. So Balaramji then by that time showed up to the scene and said, Krishna, now stop humiliating Rukmini because now he's your brother-in-law. So let's let him go. And so that's where kind of the katha part, the facts, they kind of end. So as they would say, Krishna took Rukmini to Dwarka and they got married and they lived happily ever after. And meanwhile, Rukmini, because he had made this promise that he would not come back to the capital city if he didn't have Rukmini with her, he had to keep his promise. And so he just built himself a cottage there in another little small village, and he had to live the rest of his life there. So this is where the facts end. The katha kind of stops. It's a bit humorous how Krishna was able to very easily steal or kidnap Rukmini and take her away. But now let's examine what were some of the lessons that came out of this katha. First of all, who does Rukmini Devi represent? Rukmini Devi represents the conditioned soul, which is us. Rukmini Devi represents the conditioned soul. Rukmini Devi's father, Bhishmaka, who does he represent? Bhishmaka represents our intelligence. Rukmini's brother Rukmi represents our mind. So this is kind of the connection, but in the amongst the cast of characters, if you will. Now, the condition of Rukmini Devi was she understood that she was not in a good position because she was getting married to Shishupal. And her understanding was, if I marry Krishna, I serve Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If I marry Shishupal, I serve a demon. I serve Maya. That is our position. We have the choice. Do we want to serve Krishna or do we want to serve Maya? Rukmini Devi represents us as individual souls. And she was clear. I want to serve Krishna. So if we are clear that we want to serve Krishna, what are some of the impediments that come in our way? First of all, the mind, which was Rukmi. Rukmi was saying, no, serve Maya, serve Shishupal. Our mind does the same thing. It's attracted by all these different allurements and baits of Maya. Money, prestige, fame, all these kinds of things. That's the mind. It's the weakness of the mind. Now, if our intelligence is not strong, see, basically Bhagavad Gita explains that intelligence is higher than the mind and mind is higher than the senses. And if the intelligence is strong, it can control the mind. If the mind is strong, it can control the senses. But what if intelligence is not strong? Then the senses control the mind and mind controls intelligence. It works in reverse. That's our position as conditioned souls. Our senses are under the control of the modes of material nature. Our senses drive our mind. Our mind gets attached to the objects of the senses. And the intelligence, poor thing, intelligence is weak. Intelligence cannot do anything to control the mind. So this was the situation in Vidarbha. Rukmini Devi as a spirit soul wanted to serve Krishna. Intelligence, meaning King Bhishmaka, was not strong enough to control Rukmi the mind. Rukmi the mind said, serve Maya, serve Shishupal, serve Maya, serve Shishupal. Bhishmaka was not strong enough. He succumbed to the mind, and therefore he allowed Rukmini Devi to get married to Shishupal. Now, from this point on, lesson number 2. If you want to serve Krishna, and if you're convinced that you want to serve Krishna, then we have to take charge of our spiritual progress. We have to take charge of our spiritual progress. Krishna has given us independence. Now, Krishna is supremely independent. We are minutely independent, but he's given us independence, which he will never take away from us. So if we wish to exercise that independence, in what way should we exercise it? The best way to exercise it is to serve, is to use that independence to serve Krishna. Rukmini Devi demonstrated that. And then what did she do? She said, if my mind and intelligence is not cooperating with me, if my father and brother are not cooperating with me, I will take matters in my hand and I will reach out to Krishna. So Rukmini Devi sent a letter to Krishna. We, as spirit souls, can make up our mind and say we want to serve Krishna. But then how will we send that letter to Krishna? How will we send that letter to Krishna? To You're on mute, Naveen Prabhu. You're going to say something. Okay, how?
Yes, Prabhu. I'm sorry. I was just thinking out loud your question, and I was just thinking maybe by praying or while we are chanting, we have that mood in sending this message to Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Absolutely. So if we chant sincerely, Krishna hears it, right? But Rukmini Devi said, better still. She was praying to Krishna. She said, Krishna, please help me, please help me, please help me. But then she said, I need to do something tangible about it too. So I need to write a letter and I need to send it to him. So she found a qualified Brahmin. She found a qualified Brahmin that she could trust and Krishna trusted. And this Brahmin was qualified. When we say qualified, it means he was well versed in scripture. He knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew that Rukmini Devi wants to marry him. She wants to serve him, and he could be trusted. It was not as if Rukmini Devi gave him the letter and said, "Go deliver it to Krishna," and he said, "Well, this is going to cost you $20,000." There wasn't any deal making or brokering going on there. It was trust because it was based on the highest standards of spirituality. The Brahmin knew Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rukmini Devi wants to serve her. He said, I will take this message to him. So where will we find this Brahmin? We will find this Brahmin by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, the Guru. The Guru is the person who takes our message to Krishna because we are not qualified enough to take our message to Krishna. And then look at how Krishna served the Brahmin. That is the position of the Guru. As Prabhupada says, and we sing in our prayers every day, Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada, Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutopi, that the spiritual master is very dear to the Supreme Lord. He is so dear to the Supreme Lord that he can get us the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Without the spiritual master, we cannot get the mercy of the Lord. So Rukmini Devi sent this trusted Brahmin, sent the letter to the trusted Brahmin. We can surrender to the Guru and request him to take our humble prayers to Krishna. Krishna has sent his bona fide representatives. In Rukmini Devi's situation, she wanted to marry Krishna. Krishna was ready for her. In our situation, are we ready to serve Krishna? Maybe not. Is Krishna ready to help us if we reach out to him for help? Absolutely. Krishna is ready. Krishna is waiting for us. Krishna has sent his representatives. He has sent Prabhupada. He has sent the entire Parampara system. He has sent the entire Parampara system, which in other words, figuratively speaking, he sent a lineage of Brahmins who are ready to take our message to Krishna if only we get down to writing that letter. So figuratively speaking, writing that letter is us making up our mind that we wish to serve Krishna. Then we approach the Guru takes our message to Krishna. And when Krishna hears that message, what does he do? When Krishna hears that message, he comes and he rescues us. Now here's where it gets even more beautiful. We might say that I'm not qualified, or the situation, I'm in so many difficult situations. How can I follow the principles of devotional service? How can I continue to stay on the path, and will Krishna come, and so on and so forth? We have all these questions in our mind. But remember, the name of this pastime is Krishna Kidnaps. Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. The message there is that Krishna will do whatever it takes, even if it means doing what is seemingly the impossible. Krishna will do whatever it takes to come and save us from this material world. Rukmini Devi wanted him to come and kidnap her. We want him to come and free us from this bondage of birth and death. And Krishna has demonstrated many times in history he can do the impossible. He took the form of Nrsingadev to come and free Prahlad Maharaj. Hiranyakashipu had all these benedictions that it seemed he's invincible. Who can ever kill Hiranyakashipu? But still, Krishna knew, Krishna figured it out. Krishna came as Nrsingadev. Look at what happened in Vraj when the Govardhan Leela took place. Indradev sent the clouds of destruction upon Vrindavan. And the residents of Vrindavan were afraid for their lives. And Krishna did the impossible. He lifted up Govardhan Hill on his little finger. Who can do that? Only the Supreme Lord can. He's willing to do even the impossible or the seemingly impossible to come and help his devotee. Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. Krishna came and kidnapped Rukmini. When Arjun was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna had promised that I will not fight. And Bhishma Dev knew that Krishna will do anything for his devotee. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. So Bhishma Dev wanted to experience that mellow. He wanted to experience that rasa of Krishna reciprocating with his devotee by doing the impossible. And so Bhishma Dev attacked Arjun. Krishna got so protective about Arjun that Krishna said, forget about my promise about not fighting in this war. He picked up the wheel of the chariot and he charged towards Bhishma Dev. And what did Bhishma Dev do? He offered his obeisances to Krishna and said, this is what I wanted to see. Oh, Bhaktavatsal Krishna, this is what I wanted to see you do. You have done it. My heart is satisfied. I am now ready to proceed with this battle and I'm ready to get killed. But I have seen your wonderful love for your devotees. So this is what Krishna will do. All we need to do is send the message through the Guru. Okay, so then another wonderful piece kind of comes out of this. In Vraj, they sing a very beautiful little simple bhajan, which is Teri Sharan mein aaya, Govardhan uthane wale. Mera bhi dil chura le, makhan churane wale. So it's a very, very simple bhajan. All it means is, O Krishna, I have taken shelter of you. O Krishna, lifter of Govardhan hill. Govardhan uthane wale, the one who lifts Govardhan. I have taken shelter of you. And mera bhi dil chura le, makhan churane wale. Oh, Krishna, who steals butter, makhan chor, please steal my heart as well. It's a very simple prayer, but it is full and full and full of meaning. First of all, the devotee is approaching Krishna as the lifter of Govardhan hill. What does that mean? That means the devotee is approaching Krishna with the firm belief that Krishna will do even the impossible to protect his devotee. So that's why the devotee refers to Krishna as lifter of Govardhan hill, because Krishna did the impossible to protect his devotees. And with that faith, when a devotee approaches Krishna and says, Teri sharan mein aaya, Govardhan uthane wale, that, oh Krishna, I have come to take shelter of you. I've taken shelter of you, you who can do the impossible. And to me, it seems impossible that I can ever get out of this entanglement of birth and death, but you can make the impossible possible, just like you lifted Govardhan hill. So please rescue me. So I've come taking shelter of you. Teri sharan mein aaya. Krishna says, the summary of Bhagavad Gita 1865 and 66, Manmana Bhava Bhakto Mandyaji Mam Namaskuru. If you do these four things, Manmana, think of me. Bhavamat Bhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. And Mam Namaskuru, offer obeisances to me. Surely you will come to me. And how? Next verse he says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. So become my devotee and surrender to me. So Krishna says that. And therefore the devotee in Vraj sings, Teri Sharan mein aaya, I surrender to you, the doer of impossible tasks, Govardhan uthane wale. And then the devotee goes on to say, Mera bhi dil chura le, makhan churane wale. Meaning, oh Krishna, my heart right now is contaminated. But you can make my heart pure. By how? By stealing my heart. By stealing my heart, meaning make my heart attached to you. May my heart be filled with thoughts of you. May my heart be filled with thoughts of wanting to please you. Makhan churane wale. Think about it. Makhan is kept in a earthen pot. What is that pot worth? An earthen pot, a little matki, what is it worth? It's worth nothing. It's made of dirt. And what is inside the pot? It's hollow. An earthen pot, it's made of dirt, it's not worth much, and it's hollow. That's our body. It's made of earth, it's worth nothing. Our body is worth nothing, because when we leave this body will become dirt again. So it's just dirt. It's not worth anything. But Krishna is attracted even to an earthen pot. Why? Because it has butter in it. And he comes to steal that butter, and he breaks the pot and he steals the butter. What does that mean? That means that if in this useless body, if we have the butter of love for Krishna, the butter of love for Krishna, then Krishna will come and steal our heart. That will attract him to us. And he'll break the pot of false ego. He'll smash the pot of false ego and take the butter of love for Krishna from within. So the earthen pot is worth nothing. But if you have the butter of love in it, even Krishna will get attracted to that seemingly worthless pot of earth. So this is the mood with which a devotee prays to Krishna. Krishna, I am just a useless pot of earth. But if you make my heart full of love for you, my heart will become like butter, and then my body will be worth something. It'll be worth so much that even you will get attracted to it. So that's why the devotee prays in a mood of humility to Krishna to come and steal my heart. So these were some of the lessons that we learned from Rukmini Devi. Now, at this point, I want to just very quickly share my screen and run through some of the stuff that we discussed. So, Naveen Prabhu, can you see?
Yes, Prabhu. It's we can see.
Can you see screen one?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, we see the Krishna kidnaps Rukmini slide.
Is that
Perfect.
what you can see, Krishna?
Yes, Prabhu. It's in the slideshow mode now.
Okay, so now can you see Sri Rukmini Devi's instructions?
Yes, Prabhu. Perfect.
Okay, so instead of just discussing it, I thought I'll put this down in black and white so that it's a little easier for us to focus on it as well as remember it. So some of the instructions that come out from Sri Rukmini Devi's pastimes, or this pastime of Krishna kidnapping her, is first of all, hear about Krishna. Rukmini Devi became attracted to Krishna simply by hearing about him, and we covered that in that first verse that we read. 3 times she talks about, I heard about you, Krishna, I heard about you, Krishna, and that's why I have decided that I want to marry you. So as far as we are concerned, if we hear about Krishna constantly, we will become attracted to him. But then you might say, wait, Rukmini Devi heard about Krishna, her father heard about Krishna, Rukmi heard about Krishna, her brothers heard about Krishna. How is it that Rukmini got attracted to Krishna, but the others didn't? In fact, Rukmi is the person who arranged for her to get married to Shishupal, despite hearing about Krishna. The difference there was Rukmini Devi heard about Krishna, and she continued to hear, and she continued to associate with those who spoke Krishna Katha. Which brings us to the second point, associate with devotees. Hearing once will not do it. Hearing twice will not do it. Constant hearing about Krishna in the association of devotees will increase our attraction for Krishna, and it will make us remember Krishna. And it will bring us to the point where we want to be with Krishna, where we want to serve Krishna. So that's associate with devotees. Then, third thing that we learn from Rukmini Devi is then take charge of your devotional life. Write the letter to Krishna and send it to him. And the medium is also available, the Guru. We cannot approach Krishna directly, approach him through the Guru. The bona fide representative of Krishna will take our message to Krishna, and he will bring Krishna's message to us. It's such a wonderful relationship. It goes both ways. First, we hear from devotees that inspires us to serve Krishna. Then we develop a desire to serve Krishna. And when that desire becomes strong, we approach the representative of Krishna and say that, please take my message to Krishna. So that's the third lesson that we learn from Rukmini Devi's instructions. Then the next one, what did she do? She continuously prayed. She continuously prayed to Krishna to achieve him, but she did it in a mood of humility, and that's called Danya Bhav. This is described in, I'm just trying to remember, Danya Bhav comes in Nectar of Devotion, that is the best, the mood of humility is the most conducive with which to pray to Krishna. So when Rukmini Devi, let's go back to the story a little bit. When Rukmini Devi sent the message to Krishna, and the next day was upon her, and the marriage was about to happen, and Krishna had still not arrived, Rukmini Devi was in tears, and she felt that, Krishna, maybe you have determined, despite my writing that letter to you, I think you're suitable for me, but maybe you have found that I am not suitable for you. If you have not found me suitable for you, you have decided not to come, and even this Brahmin has not showed up. That means the Brahmin may have understood Krishna's desire to not accept Rukmini Devi, and that's why he's not coming back to tell Rukmini this bad news or this harsh message. And so Rukmini Devi was at that time very, very depressed. She said, Krishna has not come. There's no sign of this Brahmin. What's going on? Maybe Krishna doesn't want me. He's not accepted me. But then she started saying prayers. And this starts from about verse 37 in this chapter 52 of Canto 10. So from verse 37 for about another four or five verses, Rukmini Devi reveals her determination towards Krishna or to achieve Krishna. And she says, Krishna, you may have found me unsuitable for you at this point, but if that is the case, then I will not give up. I will continue to do penances. I will continue to do sacrifices. In this life, if I cannot achieve you, I will do this not only for my next life, but for millions of lives until I can please you enough that you will accept me. So this was the mood with which Rukmini Devi was approaching Krishna, not the other way around. Krishna, I wrote such a nice letter to you. I'm sincere about you, and you still haven't come. That means you're not, well, I'm perfect. What fault have you found in me? So instead of considering ourselves perfect, we consider we should accept openly. We are not perfect. Let the timing, Krishna will decide the timing. But if we are determined, Rukmini Devi was determined. She said, I will continue with penances, not only for this life, but millions of lifetimes if I have to, but I will please you. So the desire to please Krishna has got to be very strong, intense, and sincere. Then, when you pray to Krishna that please come and help me, please take my heart, mera bhi dil chura le, it has to be done with sincerity. We can't just say it. If we just say it but not mean it, Krishna understands. Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He's known as Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He understands the feeling with which you pray to him. So it's very important for us to have the true feeling from within to want Krishna, just like Rukmini Devi did. Bhavgrahi, Krishna's, there are so many examples of him understanding the mood of the devotee, the intent of the devotee, without the devotee being even doing anything on the surface. For example, in Bali Maharaj's example, Bali Maharaj was performing a sacrifice when Vamandev showed up. And when Vamandev showed up, Bali Maharaj knew that this is Vishnu. And he wanted to offer him obeisances, but Shukracharya and the other demons around him were not in favor of Bali Maharaj even offering obeisances. So Bali Maharaj offered obeisances within his mind, and Krishna knew it and he accepted it. So he's Bhavgrahi. So from that example, we know Krishna understands what we mean. So pray to him sincerely. Then be humble in approaching Krishna, his timing and not ours. And lastly, be determined. So you might say, okay, I am determined, I'm chanting continuously, but uh, my chanting doesn't seem to be going anywhere. How do I intensify my chanting? So many times we hear about this. So in order to increase our determination, which will help our chanting, there are some instructions that Kunti Devi or Rukmini Devi, excuse me, is given us. Naveen Prabhu, we'll be done in about 5 minutes. Is that okay?
No problem, no problem, Prabhu. You can take your time. Please take your
Okay.
time, Prabhu.
All right. Thank you. So to increase that determination, first of all, we need to genuinely want to serve and please Radha Krishna. That was Rukmini Devi's position, genuinely wanting to serve Krishna. It's not as if Shishupal was lacking in any material opulence. Shishupal was a king and he was very, very opulent. But Rukmini Devi had understood the difference between Maya and Krishna. So genuinely wanting to serve and please Radha Krishna is the key to increase our determination, because obstacles will come. This is the material world. Challenges will come. It's the material world. But despite those challenges, if we want to genuinely serve Krishna and stay determined, he will reciprocate. Then to increase determination, if we stay in touch with Shastra, continue to study Shastra, it sharpens our intellect. And this is where we find that King Bhishmaka, he was weak. The intelligence, Bhishmaka represents intelligence. And if intelligence is weak, it will succumb to the mind, just like Bhishmaka succumbed to Rukmi. So by studying Shastra, we sharpen our intelligence, we sharpen our spiritual intelligence. Then observing austerities and fasting. Why do we have on the Krishna.com calendar, today is Ekadashi, and fasting till noon on certain appearances days and fasting till sunset? These help us control our senses, which in turn help us control our mind. And so mind control is very important. That allows us to control the Rukmi of our lives. When Rukmi is under control, when Rukmi is cooperating with our desire, then we will achieve Krishna. And then to further increase determination, just follow the Guru's instructions, which include following the 4 regulative principles. Very, very important. Without that, we are deceiving ourselves. We're not deceiving anybody else. We might say to the Guru, we're following the 4 principles. If we're not, we're just deceiving ourselves. You can't deceive Krishna. He knows exactly what's going on. And then finally, be patient. The nectar of instruction says, Utsaha, we need enthusiasm, and you need nishchaya, you need confidence, but you need dharya, patience. Patience is very important. If a devotee continues with patience, he will achieve success. So remember, the lessons that Rukmini Devi has given us are amazing. By following these few steps that have been outlined in her katha, and I'm sure there's more. This is just what I could kind of put together, just 5 steps to increase determination and about 7 of her instructions. We will be assured of success, because remember, who is Rukmini Devi? Who is Rukmini Devi? There are devotees of the Lord reciprocate with the Lord in 5 rasas, right? So there are some who are in Shantaras, some devotees, pure devotees of the Lord, who are in Dasyaras, some in Sakha, others in Vatsalya, the parents, and then Madhuryaras. Now, Madhuryaras has 2 parts to it, or has 2 types of Madhuryarasas. There are 2 types of devotees in Madhuryaras. One is Parakiya Ras, and the other is Parakiya Ras and Sakhiya Ras. And Rukmini Devi, so Parakiya is those who are in Madhurya, but as paramours of Krishna, not married to Krishna. And Sakhiya is married to Krishna. So Rukmini Devi is the epitome of that rasa, being the most prominent of all of Krishna's 16,108 wives in Dwarka. So if we follow her instructions, she can definitely get us to Krishna. She is what Radharani is to Krishna in Vrindavan, Rukmini Devi is to Krishna in Dwarka. So if we humbly pray at the lotus feet of Krishna and Rukmini, we will certainly achieve success. I'll stop here, Prabhu. And if there are any questions or comments, we can take a few now.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. It was so refreshing to hear from you, and it was such a beautifully structured class. The way you connected the Leela and the philosophy and the brilliant analogies you were using, Prabhu, the meanings behind the Leelas. They were very, very deep and profound. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I do see one hand raised. Her Grace Gita Mataji. Mataji, if you are ready, you may go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. It's been a long time since we heard from you. I had a question, a very important point about sending a message to Krishna through Guru. Could you please explain how can conditioned soul like me can send a message practically?
Practically, Mataji, you are already sending the message, or you've sent the message, because the practical step that needs to be taken to send the message to Krishna is to surrender at the lotus feet of the Guru, because we cannot see Krishna. We cannot interact with Krishna directly, but the Guru is the representative of Krishna. So when we approach the Guru and we surrender to him and we agree to take initiation, then we have sent that letter. We have sent the letter because the intent of taking initiation is to be able to approach Krishna. And so the practical step you have already taken, I should have mentioned this actually during the class. For those who have already taken initiation, they've taken that first step. Now it's important to keep that determination going and to keep that patience going and to stay true and to keep increasing our genuineness with which we try and approach Krishna by introspecting. If we keep introspecting and continuing to improve ourselves, Krishna will be pleased with the endeavor that we are making. And for those who are not initiated, this is a very clear message that in order to send a letter to Krishna, take the shelter of a guru. I hope that answers your question, Madhuri.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for the wonderful question, and thank you for the wonderful explanation, Prabhu. I just want to see if there's anyone else who would like to ask a question or leave a comment or realization. You can go ahead and raise your hand now. I see we've been sent one online. Okay, Prabhu. So the question comes in, and it says, you mentioned in your class that we should reach out to Krishna. Sometimes, even when we are serving and performing certain services, it feels like Krishna may be overlooking us in some way. Can you please speak a little on this?
Very nice question. And well, thank you to whoever asked the question. I think it's very, very important to keep in mind that Krishna will never overlook the service that we are performing. He is noticing it. The only thing that we need to keep in our minds is what Rukmini Devi was doing. See, she sent the message to Krishna, and then when Krishna hadn't arrived and the time was getting close for her to get married to Shishupal, she was starting to lose hope. She was starting to lose hope. And she said, maybe Krishna doesn't find me suitable. But what was her reaction to it? She said, if Krishna doesn't find me suitable, I will continue. I will continue to perform austerities, and in this case, perform service till Krishna is pleased. Till Krishna is pleased and he's ready to accept me. So the biggest, if there is one lesson that we may characterize as the biggest lesson from this pastime of Rukmini Devi's, it is continuing to serve Krishna with determination. And if we don't see success, it is not because Krishna is not noticing us. It is because of our own karma that is being washed. For example, we know this verse, Tatte anukampam susamikshamano bunjan evatma katam vipapam hidvag vapurbir vidadan namaste jiveta yo mukti padam sadabha. So in Canto 10, Brahmaji says this famous verse where the meaning of that is Tatte anukampam susamikshamano, that the devotee continues to serve Krishna, waiting for Krishna's mercy. Tatte anukampam. Anukampam is compassion, Krishna's compassion, waiting for Krishna's compassion. Bhunjan evatma kritam pakam. That, but in the meantime, if he's not or she is not experiencing success, we view it as the result of our own sinful actions, of our own karma. Bhunjan evatma kritam papam. All the challenges that we face are due to our own karma, but that is being washed when we are performing devotional service. We may not see the results immediately, but Krishna is noticing our service and the results are being washed. And if we keep that attitude of humility and knowing that whatever lack of success so far is due to our own karma, then continue with Hrid Vag Vapur. Hid is with the heart, Vapu is with words, Hid Vak is words, and then Vapur is body. Hrid Vag Vapur Bir Vidadhan Namaste. Continuing to offer obeisance to the Lord with our heart, words, and body. And a person who continues to serve the Lord with this attitude, Brahmaji says, Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaiva. That such a person will definitely achieve success. So please continue with determination. Krishna is noticing the service. No question about that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for that wonderful answer and explanation. Actually, that question was sent through by Kartik Kripa Prabhu. It was online. There was also just a quick follow-up question there, Prabhu. It said, what if we have not taken initiation from a guru? How can we send message through a guru right now before taking initiation? Would it be fair to say we can send it through Srila Prabhupada?
By continuing to pray sincerely to Srila Prabhupada, that please take my message to Krishna, that is a bona fide way to do it. And then Srila Prabhupada will reciprocate with us by putting us in touch eventually when the time is right with a true representative of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was amazing. Those answers were very, very profound, and actually, personally, they touched a lot of questions I had thinking about during the class. So thank you so much again, Prabhu. We'll just give them one more opportunity. If there's anyone who'd like to leave a comment or anything, a question, please raise your hand now. Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand. So there are a few devotees actually thanking you for the class, Prabhu, in the group. So yes, thank you once again, Prabhu. It was really, really wonderful to hear from you. We look forward to hearing from you again soon in the future. Your class was filled with so much nectar, and it was so enlivening and filled with so much wisdom and a lot of takeaways for me personally, Prabhu. So thank you so much. And yes, we will now move on to the next part of the program. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Yes, so thank you, dear devotees, for joining us again today and being with us as we were graciously led in a wonderful class by Ajit Krishna Prabhu. And we will be continuing our series next week, the Krishna and Balaram series. We have part 4, which will be coming up, which will be the story of the Shama Daka jewel. That will be on August 8th. And yes, we please encourage everyone to join us. Please stay tuned to our social media platforms and WhatsApp groups for more info on that class. Also, we'd like to encourage everyone to join us for our midweek program, the series on the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. We will be concluding this series this week with Srila Sanatan Goswami being the focus. And this class will be given by His Grace Amarendra Prabhu, and it will be on the 4th of August at 7 p.m. So we would like to encourage everyone to please mark their calendars and join us for the conclusion of this wonderful series of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And just to mention a few upcoming festivals, on August 1st, we have a Sayana Ekadasi, and also the incorporation of ISKCON in New York, which is on August 1st, which is today. And on August 4th, we have Kamika Ekadasi. And I do apologize. I'll just bring up the slides. 1 second. Sorry about that technical glitch. Okay. Yes, and then on August 4th, we'll have Kamika Ekadashi. And on August 5th, we will have the breaking fast for that Ekadasi, which will be between 6:42 and 6:58. And on August 12th, we'll be observing Srila Raghu Nandan Thakur Disappearance Day. So just make a note of these upcoming festivals, dear devotees, and you can prepare to observe them. Yes, thank you so much. And moving along now, we will.
Fast breaking is 6:52 to 7:42.
I'm sorry, Prabhu. Can you repeat that again?
6:52 to 7:42.
Okay, so just to make a correction for the breakfast, on August 5th, it's from 6. You said 6:52, Prabhu?
Yeah, 6:52 to 7:42.
To 7:42. So just a correction there, dear devotees. I do apologize for that mistake. So it will be 6:52 to 7:42. That will be the breakfast time, August 5th. So please make note of that. Thank you so much. And also, one of the main festivals coming up will be Balaram Jayanti, the most auspicious appearance of Lord Balaram. That will be on Sunday, August 22nd. So please stay tuned to our social media platforms for more details on that wonderful festival. And also, as everyone knows, at the end of this month, August 30th, we will be celebrating Sri Krishna Janmashtami, the most auspicious appearance of Lord Krishna. We have a wonderful program lined up, and we would like to encourage the devotees to please prepare nicely for this festival. Once again, please follow us on our social media platforms and on our WhatsApp groups to stay tuned for more details on that. The next day will also be celebrating Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, the appearance of our beloved A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, which would be on the 31st of August. It will be a Tuesday. And yes, more details will be coming up on our social media platforms regarding this festival as well. So you can check us out on Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and as well as YouTube. All our classes are recorded and uploaded to our YouTube page. So if you would like to share any of the classes, or if you'd like to go back and watch them and restudy them, please check out our YouTube page and our WhatsApp groups, where most of our details are posted regarding temple activities. You can check out all of that on our Linktree tree. And we would like to please also just send out some prayers for certain devotees. His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, who is facing certain health difficulties. Also, ISKCON South Africa, who recently was in the middle of some civil unrest in the country, which turned violent. Everything seems to be okay now and settled, but we still require some prayers for the devotees who are still in the middle of that situation. Also, Her Grace Governor Leela Mataji, the Vice Temple President of ISKCON Atlanta, who has been facing some health difficulties, and we'd like to send prayers to everyone who is fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, and also to everyone who we have not mentioned. So we'll just chant Hare Krishna 3 times in a prayerful mood to acknowledge and send prayers for these devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes, so thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining us and being with us and giving us your association today. We appreciate your support and we look forward to having your association again soon, online and in person, when that situation does change. And to conclude the program today, we will have Sadhananda Ramachandra Prabhu, who will lead us in Nashringa prayers. So, Prabhu, if you are ready, you may go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So one of the devotees, a child who was supposed to sing, they couldn't make it due to some commitments. So otherwise, usually we have one of the children from our community sing. So forgive us for that. Hare Krishna. Just a second. Namaste Narasimhaya Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Sadananda Ramachandra Prabhu for leading us in such a wonderful Nishringa Aarti. It was very, very sweet and melodious. Thank you for leading us in that. And also, we'd like to now conclude the program. So thank you, dear devotees, for staying and being with us throughout the entire program. We look forward to seeing you and having your association again in the future in our virtual Sunday program as well as our midweek program. We request the devotees to all be safe out there now. As we know, in Georgia, there is some restrictions that have been put in place by the local government regarding the COVID situation. So we'd like everyone to be extra cautious and extra safe. And yes, please take care, and we will see you soon. We will now take leave. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.